Well, welcome to the show today, everyone. My guest today is Janice Ng. She's an entrepreneur in the fitness and wellness industry based in Hong Kong, and she's the founder of Absolute Focus. She's also an ambassador for Lululemon. I've known Janice for a while now, and about 6 months ago, she actually made a post about a Vipassana retreat which she went on, which is a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And it's something that I've been really curious about for a long time. So I actually asked Janice to come and jump on a call so I could pick her brains and ask her a few questions about that. And at the end of that call, I was actually quite blown away by her story and her experiences. So I really wanted to bring her on the show to have her share what she's learned from doing this 10-day retreat, her mental health journey in general, and what she's learned about meditation. So Janice, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, James. This is such an honor for me to be on the show, and especially I feel so delighted to be able to share my experience here on this platform, because I feel like I gained so much insight from my meditation there, where I just want to share to everyone about Vipassana in general, because it's a 10-day silent retreat, and it is hardcore. And then people have been curious about my experience, and even when I posted about my reflection of my Vipassana meditation retreat in Kyoto, I posted on Instagram, so I got a lot of comments, and people were inspired to go on a meditation trip. Some people even would be more like, oh, now I have that idea in my head. I want to do a Vipassana retreat, but they have a lot of questions about Vipassana. So this is great to answer. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have these kind of questions and curious about Vipassana as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on and sharing that, because you're right. It's one of those things where some people have heard about it and have a general sense of an idea what it is, but they have a lot of specific questions that they want to find out before they perhaps dive in, because it can seem like a bit of an intimidating thing. But before we dive into, I guess, the details on Vipassana, I was wondering if you could just share just a little bit of your story and your background, just to give the audience a bit of a sense of who you are. So just a bit about you, really, Janice.
Sure. So I'm born and raised in Hong Kong. I'm 26 years old, and I'm not going to reveal my horoscope. I just thought that, okay, I'm like, I don't want to say, no, I don't want to say it so that people, okay, like have kind of a sense like, okay, this is who you are. And I don't want people to label things like assumptions and all that. So I'll just skip that part, but that just crossed my mind randomly. So I'm born and raised in Hong Kong, and then because of my American accent, it's because I went to school at UCLA. So I basically studied in a local school in Hong Kong. And then after I finished my public exams, and then I decided to just study abroad. And then so I studied at UCLA. I studied communication studies. Mm-hmm. So my background, so I was a class 2013. So I graduated quite early. I graduated when I was 20 years old. And so I graduated early, and I thought, okay, get this done. I'm from an Asian family. I just think, okay, be a good girl, study well, graduate from school, and then have a good corporate job. So that was what the plan was. So my first job was
success.
Exactly. So I never questioned about my career. I just thought, okay, this is the right thing to do. I graduated from a good school, and the next thing should be getting a good job. So, and also I was asking myself, what do I want to do? And for me, I just thought, okay, I study communications. I love talking to people and making connections. And so I thought, okay, PR is the best thing to do, like public relations. So my first job in Hong Kong, so it actually started as an internship. And so I interned for Edelman PR. So it's actually one of the top 3 PR agencies globally. And so to me, that was a definition of success. I was like, okay, great. I I'm working for an American company in Hong Kong, and then working with so many bright people, and this is great. So actually, I did enjoy my internship for the first. Well, basically, my internship was only 3 months, and quickly I asked if they had a headcount for like a full-time role, and they did. So at first, I interned for the tech department, which I loved. Um, all the topics really interested me. I'm a very introverted person. I love spending more time reading, writing, doing things alone, complete tasks alone.
Yep.
And then so when I had the full-time role, I had to transfer to another department, which was consumer marketing team. And at first, I thought, okay, that's great because it's still part of the culture, and I do love the team too. Everyone's super supportive. I still maintain friends with them now. But the trouble was, I didn't know that switching from intern to the full-time role, I actually had to move my office space to another place, which actually meant, like the open workspace, collaborative space. It's possible,
Hard as an introvert.
It is. It's hard for an introvert, but I know that, okay, this is supposedly be great for you. And then for me, it was super overwhelming. So it was like the setting was, I think, around 6, 7 long tables across the room. And then there were around maybe 40 to 50 people on the floor. And then basically your whole team is right there on the long table with you. So you're basically sitting next to um, your manager, and then the person next to the manager is like the director. Or so basically there are people lining up like right on the row. And for me, I graduated so early, and that was my first job. And of course, I had my self-esteem issues. I've always been more like an introverted person and very down to earth. And so basically that just meant that I always had to work more on my confidence, and especially my first job and super young, and then trying to adapt to this kind of high stress environment, work environment. Um, and so the environment really put me off. And that was the first time that I felt like I was depressed. I never learned what that meant. I just learned that, okay, I have high anxiety, but I never knew what it felt to be depressed. I think it's more the stress level, the anxiety level, going to work every single day that accumulated to a point where it became led up to like depression. So I still remember the days when I went to work, and I tried to go to work as early as I could because I could beat the traffic. I could just start my morning calmly into the office before everyone gets in as well. So I have my own space and get ready. But then it's hard as people get in, more and more people flooded. And then it's like there's TV playing in the background, news playing in the background, people walking around, and I have this monitor like work desk, like monitor right there where people walk across, and I felt so really conscious, like really self-conscious that my sentence must have a typo, my grammar is wrong, and then I felt like people walk past me would see it, that's the kind of mentality I was in. I didn't even know how I lived at that point. So it's that kind of stress, and also caring about what people thought about me and my work performance, and how productive I was, or how fast I could turn in like a press release and stuff like that. So that added up the pressure. So day by day, carrying that negativity home, it made it to a point where I couldn't. All I could think of was how embarrassed I felt at work, and how stressed I was, and there was no room for relaxation at all. And so basically, even during weekends, my parents were like, okay, let's go have dinner. And I was so stressed to go out even. It was to that really severe stage that within 3 months, I still remember the day that I thought, oh, maybe I need to seek for like psychological help, like to go see a psychologist. It was when I stepped out of office one day during lunchtime, I think. And then I just looked outside of the office window and I just thought, man, I feel depressed. Like everything felt so foggy. What's wrong? And I felt like, okay, I need help. So I still remember I pulled out my iPhone. I just Googled, okay, best psychologist in Hong Kong. And by the way, this is the worst thing you could do ever because it also shows where the ethics of like these doctors, right? Because how do like a psychologist actually promote themselves on advertisement? And for me, because I was at such a vulnerable stage and it's so needy for a psychologist that I just clicked on it, whoever comes up. So because I didn't want to process it, I just wanted help. So I didn't do well, not background check, but that would be too intense. But I didn't do my research. I didn't ask for my friend's help. And it was pretty silly because friends that I went to school, like at UCLA, all my close friends, they study psychology. So they actually know the difference between going to see a psychologist versus going to see a psychiatrist. But at that time, I only knew about the term psychologist and psychiatrist. I was like, might as well try both. So I set two appointments, and two of them were also ranked highly on Google.
So you got the best marketers, not the best psychologists.
Exactly. I would put it that way. So the first visit was actually because I was like, okay, who can I see first? So the first person who I could get a hold of was a psychiatrist. So I went to a psychiatrist's room, and the first thing, well, I think the session was 45 to 15 minutes, but I believe that first half hour, I just told her about my situation. I cried a lot. And I remember only half an hour in, she pulled out a piece of paper, drew a graph of my serotonin level. And at that point, it's kind of like she got right into it and said, hey, this is your serotonin level, it's dropping. And if you don't take these, is it called SSRI, like these pill medication, then your point will go even lower. So that's what she said. And then at first, I just felt so, I would say I opened my heart to her. I told her about my issues. And then right away, instead of being that caring role, like to me, I thought, okay, I want someone to care about me. But instead, she got very practical, right? Like she told me the facts, like, oh, you need to take medicine. So that was a message that I got right away when I told her about my express all my emotions and all that, my experiences. And the first thing she said was, okay, you need to take pills. So at that point, that was the first time I felt like I didn't feel like I mattered at all. And well, because I was very weak at that point too, so I was like, okay, I'll try. And so I took the pills. I remember I brought the pills home, and I think my parents found out. I don't remember if I took the pills right away, but I remember that my parents found out, and my parents never supported the idea of taking pills at all. So I just thought, okay, I need it. Not like in a rebellious way that I thought, okay, my parents don't want to take it, but I want to take it, that kind. But more like I thought about their reservation about taking pills, and I understand where they're coming from. But to me, I was in such a state that I was like, parents, hey, you don't really know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
So I just took the pills, and I remember I was prescribed with Prestige, and some pills were boosting like serotonin level, like and also Ritalin. Ritalin is for people who have ADHD, and also Xanax. Like all these like pills that you can actually easily hear from Hollywood movie and sure. Like you can see how common these pills are.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I still remember I took the Ritalin because it was so surprising for me to learn that I actually have an ADHD tendency, because I thought I struggled a lot at school. I really worked so hard to get to UCLA and graduate, but I never thought that, oh, actually, because my lack of chemicals in my like brain or like ADHD problems I couldn't pull me back from being so like being like working or studying like an average person, you know. I just thought,
Mm.
oh, I just not smart enough. But
Yeah.
anyway, so it's at that point that I actually visiting the psychiatrist made me realize more about myself and also explain why I struggled so much in the past. Actually, it was kind of a relief at the same time. At that point, I just thought, okay, I have to take Ritalin because I want to concentrate better at work. So I took that. And also, they gave me the Xanax so I can chill out a little bit. So I took that, and I still remember I hated it. I felt something about Ritalin. I felt more focused, but for Xanax, I hated it right the first day I had it because I just went to the office, sat down, trying to do my news monitoring, part of the job for PR. And I actually just stared at the screen blankly, and I just thought, hey, I thought this pill is going to help me. You know, I just had
You
all these
mean that the drugs
assumptions.
didn't fix everything straight away?
Exactly, right? And I just thought, okay, it's going to fix everything. But I just felt like chill, but in a weird way that I didn't feel productive at all. And in a sense that I felt calm, but it's not helping me with my thinking. It's not like I'm calm so I can process things clearly, you know, that kind of feeling. It's
Yep.
just feel like sedated
Dull.
and
Yeah.
dull. So I hated it. So I didn't take it right away. I mean, I didn't take it again the next day. Well, so that was my story. So
So how
I
long
only
were
stayed,
you?
yeah, half a year. I think I stayed a little bit like half a year for the full-time role. And so I decided to leave. And I think everyone was so surprised with my departure because everyone just thought that I was fine. And because
Mm.
I don't know, like it's so easy to, not to hide, but I feel like when you go to an office, you have a certain persona. It's not
Sure.
like you're faking it, but at the same time, of course, everyone has their insecurity. Everyone has to pull off like a nice demeanor, like a professional role, right? So
Sure.
that's why people just were surprised that I was going through all that. Because when you exit from a company, you need to fill out a form and all that. I'm pretty sure people know the reason why I left. So yeah, so that's my first experience seeing a doctor.
So
And
what happened then? Sorry to interrupt, Janice, but I'm just curious because you obviously it was kind of like this accumulation of stress over time from this job that maybe wasn't really suited to you, just kind of the way you were wired and a number of different things that kind of added up to all this depression and all the issues you're having, and then you started taking the drugs that were prescribed to you. When you left that job, was that a case of did you feel better or were you still taking the drugs? What kind of happened after that?
I believe I was on and off with the medication because first it was expensive, and then PR doesn't pay well when you start it. And second, I didn't ask my parents for support. I kept it alone all along. Even for my with my sister, I'm really close to my sister. I never told her about it. So I was
Mm.
super independent about my situation. But everyone at home sensed that there's something wrong with me because I'm always sleeping. When I'm home, I'm sleeping. I didn't even have the energy to go out and meet people. That's how bad it was. So I I decided to stop it. I think I only visited my psychiatrist only 3 times. And then I stopped. And first because I hated that psychiatrist. I didn't feel like I mattered. And
Mm.
also on the side, I also went to a psychologist, and I didn't feel like that was she was helping. We did something CBT, like the cognitive behavioral therapy, and but throughout that training and all that, I just felt like I was still questioning about myself and still doubting everything, like even filling up what are my stressors, how do my stresses make me feel, or what are the coping mechanism. All the writing, I was also criticizing myself while doing it, so it wasn't helping, right? So I gave up easily on this psychologist help. So I think I've only seen her for 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, I'll quit my job. And then I just thought, okay, everything's going to be more glamorous. Everything will be fine. But that was just escaping from how I cope with stress and how
Right.
I see myself. And
Right.
well, even after I quit my job, I didn't have a backup plan. I just quit. And I actually was asking myself, like, who am I? What's my personality? What do I like? And I've always known that I love to write, I love to read, and I love to be alone. I love working alone. I feel more productive when I work alone. By the way, I don't have any social issues. I have a lot of friends, by the way. I sound like I don't have friends. I'm actually I'm quite popular in high school, by the way. Not like I'm the kind of person that's like the wallflower. But it's just like my personality is I'm really introverted.
Makes sense.
So I actually also did a lot of personality tests, and I also read a lot of self-help books during that time post my resignation. And Myers-Briggs is one of the favorites. It's so spot on. I am a INFP. So I cannot get any more introverted than that. And also, I just spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, Tim Ferriss, and also like YouTube and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, Lewis,
When did,
how's
sorry to interrupt again. But when did meditation come into the picture? Like, was that was that from podcasts, like reading all these books? Is that when you sort of first discovered it, or was there something else?
good question. So it's a lame answer, sorry. So Eat, Pray, Love was huge on screen. I actually caught my attention, like the silent retreat caught my attention. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So it's always at the back of my head. And I think I decided to do the meditation, like a silent retreat, was when I had my second job, like after Edelman, PR agency, and I stumbled upon working at Lululemon. Basically, I actually worked at Lululemon years ago, and I started at the showroom. And so Lululemon's always it's very kind of like spiritual, right? They have this culture like meditate, looking inwards, and all that. And so I think that's when I started to have more of a meditation practice. But my first ever meditation was actually when I was 15 years old, because I've always been very active, sporty, and I signed up for a yoga membership. And they on the timetable it says meditation, and I've always been super curious about meditation for some reason. So I did my first class when I was 15 years old, and it was more like a candlelight kind of meditation. So you look at the candle, and you just close your eyes and meditate. So that was my first taste of meditation. So I'm open to that idea already since young. No one actually got me into it. It's more like my instinct, my interest. I've just drawn into it to try it. And okay, so for silent retreats because of Eat, Pray, Love. And so how did it come about? So when I was at Lululemon, it's a retail job, right? But when I first started, it was in showroom. So there was only 3 people, including me. So it's super close knit, super personal. Even when I greeted people like guests, we call them guests, it's very personal. Felt super comfortable. So for me, interpersonal communication has never been a thing, and it's actually my forte as well. So I felt super comfortable. And then, so I think 3 months after, the studio manager was like, "Oh, we're changing, we're growing, we're having our first store at IFC in Central." So she said, "We're going there as well. Do you want to join us?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." Because working at Lululemon is never a plan to work at Lululemon. It was more like, "Oh, I love the culture," so I went with the flow. And then from showroom, and I went with the flow to the store. And the same issue started, like the same anxiety bubbled up again. I started working at store. It becomes more transactional. Everything's less about personal touch. We still get that personal touch in a sense, but not as much as in the back in the showroom days. So I felt super stressed again, and then I doubted my worth. Actually, that's the worst thing. That actually brought me more into like anxiety, depression, because it's constantly doubting myself, constantly asking myself, why am I here? This is always a question in my head, working every single day at work. It is so stressful. Why am I here? I'm educated. Why am I here? It's every single day. It's like that. So, so at one point, I just felt like, okay, it's too much. There's this opportunity from a fitness studio. So while I was working at Lululemon, so we always go out to get involved in the community, the fitness community. And one of the studios asked if I wanted to be a teacher. And there was a point I actually felt like it was the right time to go. And it suits my personality as well. And so I started teaching Legree Fitness, which is kind of like teaching on a reformer machine. So it's quite interpersonal, like it's intro for the job actually in a sense, Pilates especially. So I worked there and I thought, okay, I'll be fine too. Like I'm in a different environment and should function better too. And so half a year in, yeah, it's half a year in. Again, of course, dealing with doubts, and dealing with like, oh, why am I a fitness instructor? Again, the same thing keeps like playing.
Yeah, I think that's worth reiterating as well, because you jumped around to a few different things, and it was almost like no matter what you did, you thought the next thing would kind of get rid of these issues, but the issues always follow you no matter where you went. So it wasn't really your external environment. You kind of discovered it was more of what was inside you, your internal environment, which makes total sense. And yeah, so you're working in this new role here. Is that kind of where you was that about the time that you did your first 10-day retreat, or was there?
So basically, again, like anxiety. Well, I was anxious and I was depressed again. So I just thought, okay, I need help because I was actually, even though I was in the fitness industries, you present yourself as being really bubbly. People think you're happy, but inside, I mean, people could sense that there's something missing. And I know that clients even told me after my retreat that I actually played happier songs. So back to your question. So I just because I felt at a low point again, I didn't feel motivated to actually work out as well. Even though I was in the fitness industry, so I was actually also on pills. So I was back and forth, going to see psychologists, seek for help, and so I was on drugs as well. And so I just decided that I just have to go on a meditation retreat. I just need to be alone because that was a time where I was like, I just don't want to see anyone. I just want to be alone. So I just looked up online. And again, really silly question. Silly answer. Why I Googled free retreat, free meditation retreat.
Yeah.
And so that's how I found out Vipassana. So Vipassana basically is global, and as in Goenka, he's a master of this program. He has all these facilities worldwide, and so there's one in Hong Kong, and so I signed up for that for the 10-day retreat, and I was so glad that I wasn't motivated enough to research again because ignorance is bliss at the point because I didn't realize how shabby the place looked like, and it actually looked like an asylum. Honestly, it's really, really bad in the Hong Kong facility. But they did have a newer one now. But the one that I went, which was 3 years ago, I believe it's 2 years ago actually, 2 years ago that I did my first Vipassana. So, well, I went there without any expectation, and I just was so happy to be alone, so happy not having to talk to people, super excited, actually super excited to just be alone and not to deal with anything. So that was how I felt. I actually was excited about it because I felt like I don't have any responsibility and I don't need to feel the responsibility to respond to people's texts, so I was happy to let go of my phone. But one of the things that was hard for me to let go was journaling because I've always loved to write down my thoughts. But for us, we need to forget everything when we get into the meditation retreat. So
that's basically, just for the people listening, so basically the 10-day retreat is essentially you can't speak, you can't write, you can't use your phone, you can't do anything like that. Is there anything else?
No eye contact. No, you have certain times that you can talk. You can ask teachers questions. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's it. And then vegetarian meals, all that. Yeah, yeah. And so the schedule is really intense. So, oh, also one thing, the female and the male dorms are separate. So men and female were segregated. Walking areas as well. So break times we never see males, but then in the group meditation hall you will actually see the guys coming in, but we come in different doors. Like we are always segregated. And then you're not supposed to look either. So you're not supposed to actually know that guys are walking in. But I peeped. Anyway, so I'll just briefly tell you what the schedule is like. So for Vipassana, all the schedule is the same. So it's a 4 a.m. morning wake up bell. 4:30 you start meditating in the hall, and then 6:30 to 8 is the breakfast break, and then 8 to 9 will be the group meditation, and then you have more group meditation. That would be a 2 hour sitting, and then you have a lunch break, and then you have some rest. You can talk to the teacher if you have questions, and then again you have an hour and a half to meditate in the room or your hall, and then another hour for group meditation, and then another hour of meditation, and then you have a tea break, and then another hour of group meditation, and then at the end of the day you will have like a discourse. This is where you hear like an audio, or like you can you basically you hear an audio of Essen Goenka about, okay, day one, the summary, and then how you learn more about your experience and all that. And after that, you have the meditation again, and then 9:30 p.m. you retire to your own room. So this is the schedule. Every single
So
day, 10 days.
yeah, which is sounds insane. And I guess for the people listening, so for for someone, because someone might hear that and say, okay, well, sitting there and just chilling for 10 hours a day, meditating, and then just eating and not doing much at all sounds pretty nice. But I don't think that's exactly the case. So could you explain maybe for the people listening, what is that experience like where you're basically spending the whole day either meditating or doing some form of silent reflection?
Yeah, so I'm speaking from my first experience. So I'm drawing my example from my first experience because it's the most impactful for me. So I would say, because I was in such a bad state when I went in, so I was super happy to be there alone, quiet. And so I would say the first day, I didn't feel much pain in my legs. Not until the second and the third day. I remember the third day waking up in the morning, I felt like my legs were chopped off. My legs were in pain. So because you've been sitting the whole day, and also you're supposed to sit still and not fidget at all. And then you also, one of the techniques of this meditation is to actually observe the pain. So pain was inevitable. And so I would say the experience was really rough. And also the meditation technique was to focus on the breath. Very simple. So so basically you just focus on your breath. You don't have a guided meditation. No one's guiding you through the meditation while you're practicing. Of course it would teach you how to do it, but once you do it, it's silent, and you rely on your breath, and then you basically do like a body scan. You feel the breath through your nostrils, feeling the breath between the tip of your nose and the top of your lips. So you're basically practicing that to actually wake up those senses in your body. And then from that, you build it up day by day, and then you start feeling that sensation coming from the head, your face, very tiny bits and pieces in your body. So that's a practice every single day. So I would say I struggle most over the physical pain. And also by day two, I feel like, because I started to feel more aware of my bodily sensations, that I didn't realize that I was so suppressed the whole time throughout my depression. And so finally I felt like I feel my emotions, I feel my body senses, I'm more awakened, basically. I'm more in touch with my senses. That day two or three, I started crying so much. Like I go to my room, I would cry so much. And I still remember, I think day three, I was in the group meditation hall, and I just I couldn't stop crying. I felt it, and then I basically rushed out and just cried. And I guess I needed it because I just need to flesh out all those emotions that has been bottled up inside of me. And
Yeah.
also, I think the the magical part for me was during lunch. I think by day 5, all of a sudden I realized that I can taste. Like I had no idea. I was so numb that I didn't even realize I didn't taste food anymore. I lost the sense of I didn't I always thought that I have a very sensitive palate because I have really good senses, but I didn't realize that throughout my depression stage that I actually lost the sense of taste. So that point when I all of a sudden really like I was like, oh wow, this tastes like this. And you have to know that we basically ate everything really bland, like everything's bland, everything's vegetarian meal. And so to have that shock in my body, it was like, wow, this is working. This is crazy. And it's just using your body to heal yourself in that sense. So I was actually motivated after that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it well. I'm going to try. I would say I benefited most and practiced fully by day, like after I felt more of my senses. Like I think the day 5 to 7, I started to feel like I want to do this. I want to practice harder. And I really did manage to sit for only once out of the 10 days to sit without fidgeting. So
Wow.
basically, I think by day 7, they have this philosophy. They have this rule, which is to train your discipline. So basically, the idea is once you're in the group call to meditate, you cannot move at all for that hour. If you feel like your nose is itchy, you cannot scratch it. If you feel
Sounds
that
so
tingling
hard.
pain all the way in your spine, yeah, and then you cannot move, you're definitely gonna feel. So basically, how your body feels is even despite hundreds and hundreds of practices, you will feel the same. At least for me, I felt like my legs were numb. It's always either my legs were numb or my neck starts to hurt or my back starts to hurt. You feel aches and pains in your body. And it happens to everyone too, not just me. And so this is how you practice and how you live with that pain and experience it. And instead of attaching certain emotions to that pain, instead observe how that pain makes you feel. And from that, how you be calmly just scan through your body without feeling attached to good pleasurable feelings or feeling this like being so repulsive and like rejecting these uncomfortable feelings. I feel like it's this type of philosophy, this mindset, and the practice of this breath, and also because of sitting, of the pain, that helped me practice and build that mentality that okay, you're not attaching emotions, well, more like not not being. So basically, you're finding that balance, that equanimous mind. That's what they say, like equanimity, meaning not craving for something or not rejecting
Yeah.
things, basically.
Got it.
So finding that balance. So basically, this is the concept. You're practicing it every single day, and that experience really ingrained me, and so really changed how I practice my life, basically practice my
Yeah.
everyday
So
life.
so what did change after that first experience in terms of because I think a lot of times with some sort of experiences you can go away for like might not be a meditation retreat, but you can go away to some event and you feel during the time that you've changed and you've transformed, but then you go back into your daily life and you kind of just fall back into the same habit. So what happened for you when you finished?
So what I I felt calm. I still remember first day going back to work, and clients and even my boss, they were like, something's different about you. Like they couldn't pinpoint what exactly, but they felt like something's different about me. And for me, I felt so calm. And even when teaching, because even before I meditated, I actually felt really nervous every single time when I taught. So that was the first time that I actually felt less nervous, not because I prepared more or less, but because I have the awareness of feeling my feet on the ground, and that actually helped so much. I felt grounded basically. I felt like the sensation, I feel the warmth, the weight of my body, my feet on the ground. And then that actually helped me set the tone of my class every single time. And that was how I feel so calm under any circumstances. And I felt like I was so glad that my body, my mind picked up that experience from my own Vipassana experience, my meditation experience, so that I can actually apply that in my daily life. So I would say okay, so after the retreat, they tell you to practice every single day, morning 1 hour, night before you sleep 1 hour. And of course, I only followed through for a week. But I know that if I practice daily, diligently, 2 hours per day, it will definitely transform me even more. But even like the tiny bits, like being mindful of what I do, like feeling my feet on the ground, actually helped me a lot already too.
Yeah.
So that's what I noticed after my meditation. And of course, in a city like Hong Kong, it's insane. It's such a packed city, and everyone's in a rush, and work is usually fast paced. So to carry that mentality, to practice that in a city, it's tough. But I think that it's because of my awareness of my surrounding and being mindful of my breath. It really helped me a lot more to adapt to the environment already. So I think that really helped. And also because you have that calmness in you, you feel more confident. And of course, when you work, your quality of work shows too. So my work performance got better. My boss, actually, like I focus on being a better teacher and creating better routines that clients come to my classes more. And even at one point, my boss was like, "Wait, what's going on with Janice's class? Her attendance rate like got so much higher than before. What's going on?" Even my boss took my class to see what's going on with Janice, you know. So it really showed that the switch of my mindset, the positivity, like the calmness, the mindfulness element in me, it really showed in my work. And so from then on, so it only gets better, right? So people say that you can only hold a thought at a time, right? So it definitely showed clearly for my work performance, my relationship with people, because you will react less to what people have to say. And then so you will actually just be more mindful of what you do. And so basically this really helped me to become a better teacher, work better, being a better friend, being a better daughter. And even my mom was like, "Wow, you need to go to meditation every single year." But actually I did. It's a commitment to myself. Hence, I did my Kyoto Vipassana in February. And I knew what to expect because I've been through the schedule. It's a different environment. But I would say the second experience was different because I felt super distracted because I was in Kyoto. I've never been to Kyoto, and I was just so distracted. I was like, "Ooh, what should I do next? Oh, I'm gonna go out and have sake and sushi." So basically,
I don't think that's what
everything
you're
could
supposed to
pass.
do, is it?
You know, you're not supposed to. But I learned so much from my second experience because I had questions from my first experience. And then the second time, I had some questions to ask the teacher. And one of the things I asked was, "Why do I feel like crying when I meditate?" That's what I asked the teacher. And he said, "Well, crying is not a bad thing. It's not a good or a bad thing." He just focused on the matter, like the focus on breath. So he just said, "Well, when you cry, notice how, so pay attention to your breath when you cry, basically. So you will notice that if you cry, your breath will be shorter. And the fact that when you meditate, so your breath is nice and long, it's calm. And so you notice that when you pay attention when you cry, then you're short of breath. And then it's just, that's why it creates the imbalance in your body too." So that was a really like light bulb moment for me too, that he didn't actually just right away tell you what's right or wrong and what's the right way to meditate, because there's no right or wrong way to meditate.
Yeah.
But he just told me to focus on my breath. And also, he also pointed out that maybe some people love to cry, and then you have to think, why do you love to cry? Some people enjoy crying. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like, and again, it ties back to the philosophy where you don't want to have attachments and you are not craving for something, or you're not saying no to something that you don't like, right? So that's why meditate, you don't cry, because you won't want to crave for crying, and you don't want to be like, oh, I'm not crying, I'm crying, like I don't like it, I don't like it. And so
Just accepting whatever comes up, I guess.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
yeah, that was my takeaway from my second time around.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess it's also, like you said, you did it the second time, and I guess it's really just, it's like anything, you practice it. It's a skill that you develop as you do more. And I guess going back to like a busy city like Hong Kong, you eventually want to kind of refresh that ability to be able to have that mindfulness, because otherwise you can kind of, you get a good benefit when you go to the first one, and then perhaps some of those habits slip a bit. Like you said, you did it for the first week and then it was kind of a bit less and less. So it's good to do that refresher. So I totally understand wanting to do it twice. And I was curious as well, just what's your, I guess, advice or recommendation to people if they hear something about Vipassana, if they've heard about it, they're curious about it, and they've listened to you talking and it's sparked their interest a bit. Do you have any advice on things they need to keep in mind about it, or any general advice there?
Be
Or just do
open-minded.
it?
Yeah, I would say be open-minded. And if you manage to finish the whole 10-day Vipassana, you will not regret your experience. Because from the people that I talked to, from my meditation groups, twice, everyone just came out happy, and grateful. You don't hear anyone that complain about it. So this is the beauty of it. It was insane. I'm sure everyone's kind of had mixed feelings about it, hated the pain during the process. But once you come out of it, like end of the Vipassana retreat, people they're all very light. Like it's not just first time and then it's in Hong Kong, right? Second time is in Japan. And everyone's like, it's a universal thing. Like people just feel lighter, feel grateful and happy. So I would say for those who plan to go to apply for meditation and feel very nervous about it, just be patient and just go through it. Because you have to go through that pain, go through that discomfort so that you can break through, so that you can dig deeper inside, so that you can make the most of the experience as well. And also, when the pain comes, like the pain, you will learn that the pain comes and goes, and then it feels eternal at the moment. But once you're aware of that pain, you know it's there, you let it be, you let it go, and then the pain actually just fade naturally. So everyone, I feel like for me, I learned most is through pain. Like you have to go through the pain of Vipassana. There's not an easier way out. You have to go through the pain so you can make the most of it. I feel like everyone learned the most from the painful experience, because no one came out from the meditation experience and said, wow, it's so comfortable and I feel great now. Everyone be like, oh my gosh, my legs were burning, like, oh my gosh. And but everyone just had great results after this. And a lot of people go there for different reasons. I've heard that people go there because out of curiosity. Some people go there. For me, it was actually to let go of my antidepressants, which I actually did the first time, like after my meditation. I didn't rely on it, and I was so glad I didn't have to rely on it. Now, like I don't take any drugs, and I feel so good, like because of meditation, because of the practice, and because of the philosophy behind it. And yeah, so drugs, and some people go there because they don't want to let go of cigarettes. Like they don't really want to quit smoking, but had trouble dealing with it. So everyone go there with different intention. But I feel like everyone that I came across who spoke about their experience, that's been a profound experience for all of them.
And yeah, I think that's worth reiterating as well, the fact that you had gone to see a professional and they had prescribed you with these drugs, and then doing this retreat actually allowed you to stop taking them. And obviously, if you're listening, consult your health professional. Don't take this as medical advice, but it's pretty amazing that you were able to get off them by doing this retreat. So it kind of shows the power of it for sure.
And also, it gave me this confirmation that you can only find happiness when you live in the moment. And that actually inspired me to create absolute focus. So absolute focus actually means being focused, absolutely focused in the moment, being focused. So that's why I created this company, and with the intention to help people to go through that mental health struggles. So that's my purpose of this company. And so that's what I do too, like teaching people and have my fitness line, Apps Focus, like a fitness line so that people can be more aware of their body sensation, work out, and then be happy, basically.
That's great. It's a great mission. You're taking care of people. People often focus on the six-pack of the body, but they forget about the six-pack of the mind as well.
Exactly,
so it's good
yeah.
that you focus on both. So I love that. Well, sort of coming up on time here, Janice, but I just want to know, is there anything that I haven't asked you, or just anything that you really want to make sure that you pass on to the audience about Vipassana or meditation or mental health in general before we finish up here?
Yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything that I want to share. I just feel that I think there are so many different meditation techniques out there, and there's no one way better than the other. I just think I wish the audience listening to this would actually find the time to get to understand what meditation is. And it doesn't have to be anything spiritual. I still don't consider myself as a very spiritual person. I'm just very mindful of what I do. And I think I really hope that people would get to understand the importance of mindfulness. Not necessarily meditation, but mindfulness. And I think that really will help people deal with anxiety, deal with a lot of emotional stress and all that. So I think at least one takeaway, even though if people will be like, oh, this is way too much, Vipassana is way too much, I really hope that anyone in the audience would actually find that interest, spark that interest. I wish I could spark that interest in you to go deeper and to explore the topic mindfulness. Yeah. So that's what I want to say.
I love it.
Well, what's coming up next for you, Janice? Last few questions here, but yeah, what are you working on at the moment? You mentioned before your company Absolute Focus and Abs Focus. What's your main focus for the rest of this year?
Yeah,
The work you're doing?
So I am still focusing on the fitness line. So Absolute Focus for me, it means, well, like the mission is to help people deal with their mental health and help people to feel less alone in their mental health journey. So under that brand, so it will be fitness for now, because that's my career too. That's where my source of income comes from. So focusing on Abs Focus. And my focus right now, yes, it's the Abs Focus. And I'm planning to feature it in studios in London, in New York. So London will be in June, New York will be in July. So the past few months, I went to Dubai. In March, I went to Dubai, and then my class is hosted there as well. Naya Yoga, they're amazing. They hosted my class. And also, I'm training up people. I'm training up Pilates instructors to teach Abs Focus too, so that they can help me to kind of teach more of the classes, be more available to clients, to studios. And so I can actually focus more on developing more of my brand, like more fitness workouts beyond apps. And also build in more. I want to tap into tech actually to put my videos online. Basically, I have a more scalable business, basically. So that's more of my focus. But also on the side, of course, I still want to push the mindfulness element to it. So speaking to you is one of the good ways to talk about mental health, helping people as well. And also we'll do more other things. I'll try to put in more time, community classes that also touch on mindfulness. So I'm so glad that Lululemon gave me such support for community classes, and through that I can openly help, like given like a meditation session as well, so that people can have a little bit of, okay, the fitness part of it, and also be like, oh, I love the workout, but wait, also I need to be mindful, you know? So I feel like there's this gap where people do want to work out, they want to feel the intensity, especially in city like in Hong Kong. But a lot of people forget that even things that you don't feel that you're working, you're actually working. You know, like you feel like, oh, I'm meditating, I'm not doing anything, but you're actually doing something, you know?
Yeah.
You're doing something by not doing something, you know? It's
Yeah.
very deep. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's my focus. Yeah,
Well, that's exciting.
thank
And
you.
yeah, I mean, guys listening, seriously, the work Janice doing is really important. Like, it takes a lot to come on like a public platform like this and share your own mental health journey. Like, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that. So thank you very much for coming on here and doing that, Janice. And I love what you're working with, because you've got the fitness on one side and you've got the mental health on the other, and there's often a big gap between those two things. So I love how you're bringing them together, and it's a really important thing to do. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right,
Thank
and everyone
you.
listening, go follow Janice on Instagram. That's probably the best way to connect with you, isn't it? On
Yeah.
what's your handle?
At Jenny Beans. So just like jelly beans, but Jenny. So
JA.
JANYBEANS. Jenny Beans.
Awesome. Yeah, go check out the stuff she's working on. It's awesome. And hope you have a great day, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this interview with Janice. I really hope you got a lot of value from it. And if you're listening to this on iOS, it would mean the world to me if you could leave this show a rating and a review on Apple Podcast. And the reason for that is because it really helps with the show's ranking. So it helps more people discover the show and gives it more credibility when I'm actually reaching out to potential guests in the future. So if you could do that, it would really mean the world. And if you're not listening on iOS, you can still help me out. You can take a screenshot of the app you're using, listening to the show, post it to your Instagram stories, tag me at jharris, 2 R's and 3 S's, and it would really mean the world and really help me out. So thanks for that, and have a great day.